Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
And this is Season 6, Episode 22.
Or Episode 140 if you're counting.
I hope things are okay, because this admittedly is the first time we're running an episode since I have upgraded my PC to Windows 10. I've done some other streams lately. You guys have probably seen me play some games the last few days running this on Windows 10, and it seems to have done just fine, and we kind of look okay right now. But I was noticing before during our pre-show screen that it was kind of blinking in and out. So
Yeah.
my hope is that we sound just fine, because we are a mostly sound-based show, despite the fact that you can see us. And so long as you can hear us talk, then that's great. Yes.
Yes.
So I'm sure
hopefully we won't have any major hiccups. We're just going to be doing the show like you guys have come to expect every week. Like we do every week.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you also to the Patreon contributors at patreon.com/MarsGirl. Don't you talk over me.
Have you not noticed I've done that every time you
That's
said
why
that?
I'm saying it now. Don't you do it.
You're going to bring it up
Don't you-
now after 6
In any
seasons.
case, yeah, you guys might be aware, I recently had finished the review on Atelier, and now I've just today finished writing the review for Crest of the Stars, 13-episode anime series that came out, I want to say 1999, and I believe it aired on Tech TV, which I didn't watch it because I didn't have Tech TV, but now I have seen it. And now I've written that review, so I highly expect to be recording that tomorrow. I'm excited to be getting that one finished, yes. Yeah.
Alright.
What's going on, Josh, before we get too deep into things?
Well, before I forget about it, shout out to Axcalibur, who gifted me with Metal Gear Rising Revengeance earlier tonight. That was pretty boss of you, dude. I appreciate that.
Also gifted me with the PC version of Final Fantasy V. And they seem to be gifts relating to our second-year anniversary.
So that's nice.
Yeah,
that's
so
really appreciated.
Very, very kind of you, and that means, there's a Steam sale and stuff. Which
Yeah,
makes
the
it
Steam
easier,
sale.
makes it easier to do things
Which
like that.
segues
for
into
people.
the Steam sale, and it's the thing, the mass flood of sales coming right at you. Oh god, 50%, 75% off. Oh god, my wallet. Oh no.
Which is part of the reason why Steam's servers have not been doing so hot. But it also sort of led me to realizing that a game existed that I didn't previously know about called YouTuber Life. Which is like a Sims-esque game where the point is to be a YouTuber, be the best vlogger out there in whatever your given thing. Like, some of it is gaming related. Apparently you can be a chef or you can be a musician and you make a whole bunch of videos and stuff, and then you skyrocket to fame, because that's exactly what every YouTuber does, is skyrocket to fame by putting videos on the internet.
But you seeing that this thing exists, is that not the most meta thing you can think of this week?
I really want to play it so that I can do my job while I do my job. Stream this thing, edit gameplay of this thing. Because apparently that's a thing you can do in the game, is edit your videos.
Yeah.
And then also get flagged by YouTube's Content ID system randomly.
Wow, they gotta pour in the reality there.
They sure do. Like, I don't know whether that's like, oh, you guys went that extra step to make it really real, or if that just infuriates me that much more. Like, I'm fairly interested in it. I admit, I put it on my wish list, and it's got kind of mixed reviews. Some of them are like really, really good, and others are like, because I guess it's kind of in a beta sort of stage. Like, they're still making tweaks to it and stuff, but it's apparently good enough to be sold, and it's not a free beta, so they're pretty confident about it. So, mildly interested.
Mild interest.
Not gonna lie. Yeah.
But that's more a you thing. I wouldn't... Like, I have to live with you enough as it is. I don't want to have to play a game about the thing you do.
I know, it seems, you're absolutely right to describe it as such a meta sort of thing for someone like me to do, because that's my job already. Why don't I play a game where I play myself doing my job?
Like, that's too... In this house, that's too close to reality.
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
escapism as pure as it can get, which is why I started picking up wrestling again. That's the
Okay,
difference
that's
there.
the worst segue I've ever heard.
No, that's not a segue. I'm just saying I would prefer the escapism of tokusatsu and wrestling versus, oh wow, watch the game where my wife does what she does every day. Like that's gonna be so appealing. I mean, to some people it's probably appealing, but to me, like,
Well, yeah, because to somebody it's escapism. I mean, really, technically speaking, like, I'm not a fantastic YouTuber. I could play a game where I play myself and then make myself
they'll catch
better.
on.
And then make myself better than I actually am.
Yeah, but then because
But if I fail at it...
yeah, but if you're better at it in the game than you are in reality, wouldn't that, like, totally detract from any positive feelings you have about yourself? Like, it would take all of your self-esteem playing this
What
game
self-esteem,
off
Josh?
Steam. Like, no. Why would you do that?
I think it sounds really meta and funny, actually.
I don't know about that.
I suppose, was there anything else before we get into talking about what our stories were this week?
Well, I guess because I brought it up, I wasn't trying to bring it up, but the watching Money in the Bank this weekend was a thing.
Yeah, we did watch wrestling. It's not a thing
Because I know
that
most
I
of the
do.
country was watching the basketballs, and congratulations to the Houston Astros for winning the
Houston
Super Bowl.
Astros.
But no, yeah, we watched that for a bit because for once I was actually invested in a pay-per-view event, and you were there. Our friend Chris, who worked with us on Famicom Writer, was there. And we were just there ragging on it the whole time, and you were surprised in one match I called the whole ending 5 minutes out.
Well, I wasn't too surprised. I was just like, man, good job. Yeah, you were absolutely right. Yeah, it's true. That just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful that after so long I haven't missed a step.
Yeah.
Except in the Rusev fight where like, he actually got Apollo Crews to tap. Go figure. All right, fine.
Well, I mean, that is kind of... If we're talking about writing, because that's what wrestling is,
it's writing, yeah.
Somebody wrote it, then it's bad writing because it was Father's Day, and the father was right in front of his kid.
Yeah.
And he lost on Father's Day.
And even if he gets to beat him, which he eventually will, then there's not Father's Day to have that on. You don't even get that rousing victory there.
Yeah, so shame on your bad writing there, because that's all I...
I mean, kudos to, people bringing up there in the chat, kudos to Dean Ambrose for getting the title there. I mean,
okay, this is too much wrestling talk now.
I mean, I'm just happy it's him and not Roman Reigns.
I have no stake in the matter.
Would you prefer salad?
No, I would prefer S-T-E-A-K.
Steak.
S-T-E-A-K. It's a song. Okay, you know what?
I'm not familiar.
Can we just let's talk about the show,
dinner.
like the real show.
Dinner.
We have a show.
Okay.
We have a show. What
All
are
right.
our stories tonight?
Okay, so our first story of the evening, as you guys saw over on Twitter, we had a massive amount over the last 48 hours of new news from Lucasfilm regarding Star Wars Rogue One. The new movie coming out this December. A lot of new information on the characters, the plot, what we're going to expect, just major things that we got to talk about, and seeing how that's going to play out, and how it ties back to some of the more animated things in the Star Wars universe.
Our next story after that is going to relate to Mighty Number 9, which just came out this week, just a couple days ago,
Yes,
really.
and we've talked about it before, but now it's out.
We used to be so excited about it, and just so many things have happened, and the release of the game really disappointed a lot of people, and I'm not just talking about the game itself, so we will be discussing what has and has not been happening in regards to the release process of this game.
Yes, and then the last story for the evening is a very interesting piece that some people kind of tried to talk to us about over on Twitter, so thank you to those of you who were talking to us about it. So apparently a bunch of fans were flown out to England last weekend to be on set during the filming of scenes of Justice League, which of course is still filming right now, and Warner Brothers went ahead and released a massive amount of information about Justice League, how they're responding to the fan reaction to not quite Justice League, how they're kind of changing course for the rest of these DC movies, and where the tone is going in comparison to everything else they're putting out. Some interesting things, some very questionable things, but we'll talk about that at the end of the show.
Alright, I guess before then, though, as usual, there are some follow-up stories to be discussed.
Yes, so we'll get right into it.
Alright.
First and foremost, I absolutely hate it when we have to start off the follow-ups with things like this, and this in particular took everybody by surprise. The news dropped Sunday that unfortunately at the age of 27 we lost Anton Yelchin, who of course most famously was playing Chekhov in these new Star Trek movies.
And the new one comes out, what, in a week or two?
Yeah, next month, Star Trek Beyond. He has other films. I think they said there's 5 other films that he had already in the can, which will be released.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's just the
Jeez.
nature of the business. You know, you film things, and it's up to the studio to depend on when they actually get to see the light of day, or if they see the light of day. But the unfortunate part was there didn't seem to be any sort of foul play, just that there was a very unfortunate car accident is what we're being told.
Yeah, and it's not your stereotypical, this was a collision. This was, for some reason, he was outside of his vehicle, which was a Jeep of some make or model,
Yes.
some model, and it had, I suppose, slipped into neutral and pinned him against a fence. Really, like, that's... I don't see how foul play could have even been a thing. This is just the freakiest of freak accidents you can possibly imagine. And what makes it worse is that apparently Jeep had this model of vehicle in recall for gear slipping. So there is a likelihood, though it's not a confirmed thing that this is what happened, but a likelihood that there was a gear slip involved and there was no getting out of the way. And
and if it's in neutral, he wouldn't have been able to hear it, you know.
If the car was not on,
Yeah.
for example, just kind of rolled,
Yeah.
did what it did. So that is absolutely heartbreaking because, like, how does anybody foresee something like that happening? And
it's so young, too.
Yeah, with so much promise.
Oh yes, so many excellent movies under his belt. I actually liked him in the Fright Night remake.
Yeah,
for what
did
that was
too.
worth. I liked him in Charlie Bartlett. Of course, he was amazing as Chekhov. The other cast members, of course, absolutely broken up over this. You know, with any movie, you become something of a family like that. And since this was the 3rd outing, they'd really gotten close with one another. You know, people like Carl Urban, John Cho expressing their condolences on social media. Not to stick on it too much, but from all of us here at the show, Anton, we appreciate your work and you will be missed. That having been said, and I hate having to segue into the rest of the show, let's go ahead and get to the DC news. So over on CW, let's talk shop with their DC shows. So over on Supergirl, we have confirmed that, as we heard before, Linda Carter, who most famously has played Wonder Woman before in the past, will be playing the President of the United States over on Supergirl. She's confirmed to have a recurring role on the series and that her first appearance will be in episode 3. So we have that to look forward to over there.
Pretty cool.
Over on The Flash. So Grant Gustin, who of course plays The Flash there on the show, with permission from the executive producer, tweeted out the title of the first episode of the next subsequent season entitled Flashpoint, which of course ties back to the famous storyline, the Flashpoint paradox. A lot of that tying to the season finale of this past season, where Barry did in fact go back and save his mother, and now, starting with this next season, the rest of the world will change as a result of him making that one selfish decision.
Yeah.
So very much looking forward to how that's going to go. Over on Arrow, interesting story here, they're adding the character Artemis, who a lot of fans know from the series Young Justice. However, it won't exactly be the Artemis we're familiar with from that series. She'll be played by Madison McLaughlin, who played Evelyn Sharp, who was impersonating the Black Canary this past season. So they're kind of, just like they did with Speedy, kind of modifying things to where it's kind of like what you're familiar with in the comics, but we made it fit in over here on the CW. So no word on what the costume's going to look like. I can only assume that it'll somewhat look familiar to what we're used to from Young Justice. Over on Fox with Gotham, so interesting news here. We've got a picture of the new Poison Ivy they're going with.
Oh, we do, yes.
So what we have here is an interesting thing. On the left here, you'll see Claire Foley, who has been playing Ivy Pepper for the past 2 seasons on Gotham. In this coming season, she'll be replaced by Maggie Geha, who, for some reason, the story that they're going with is that Claire, original Ivy, will be experimented on by the people over at Indian Hill and get turned into Maggie, who will then be the more recognizable, older Poison Ivy, who will then set her sights on young Bruce Wayne.
But what kind of doesn't difference is, here's that argument that always came up in, nobody's gonna know what this is in my audience, but there was a fan dub parody made for Otakon in the year 2001.
I know what you're talking
called
about. Yeah.
This Is Otakudom. And in the background of one scene, well, really it's the main focal point of just one brief dialogue between a couple of really dumb otaku just hanging out at Otakon. They're all sitting there drunk, and one guy says, "So wait, Sasami's like really young, this isn't cool," and another guy is like, "Yeah, well, from her home planet, despite the fact that she's got a really young body, she's actually like 200 years old, so, you know, it's cool." And so this is what I'm saying.
Here, this isn't going to be cool, though, because by definition, she's the same age. She's not
Yeah,
getting
that's
any
what I'm
older.
telling you.
No, she's not getting any older, though. You can't use the numbers on that. She
Exactly.
just looks older.
She just
It's the
looks
inverse
old.
of the Sasami argument, because this one is younger but staying the same age.
Mm-hmm.
This is really messed up when you have to think about it. And then on top of that, like, you already have to understand, this is an admittance that the writers over at Gotham screwed up. Like, man, we made her too young. Quick, make her older, make her older.
Well, are you
so we
gonna
can-
make Bruce older? Are you gonna make... Why don't we just have a time jump?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm
I
saying.
hate time jumps,
That's
but clearly they just want to hurry up and get to the part where they're all old enough to do the crap they want to make them do.
And really,
clearly.
this leads to a bigger problem, and I could stay on it for way too long, but I don't want to get into it right now. Just saying, good job, Gotham. All right, so moving on to some Marvel news. Let's talk about Marvel news.
Okay.
Okay, so Spider-Man Homecoming has had several new additions.
So that's part of the
That was
set.
a pipe.
That part of the set.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Set falls apart all the time, just deal with it. Several new additions to the cast. Several different actors who I'll list off right now. Abraham Attah, Michael Mando, Bokeem Woodbine, and Hannibal Buress. Comedian Hannibal Buress has been added to the cast. They're just adding new people.
I do not know these people.
Well, Hannibal Buress being the comedian, you've seen some of his work, a little bit.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Trust me on that.
All right.
Just other new people being added to the cast. I suppose I'll be added to the cast tomorrow.
Sure.
Siren's getting added to the cast on Friday.
Yeah, she didn't
as
even
well.
do
Like,
anything.
yeah, she didn't even do anything. I'm just. They're adding so many people, and they're not saying who they're playing. They're just saying, oh, they might be a villain. You'll see. It's like, okay, all right. I trust you, Marvel, but don't get so cocky. All right, just calm down here.
Uh-huh.
And kind of as an tie off to that, so Guardians of the Galaxy finished confirming this. Finished filming, we confirmed that this past week, but the same set where they're filming is the same set where Spider-Man Homecoming is moving in, and in the crisscross, we actually got a picture here of James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy, with Chris Pratt, who plays Star-Lord, alongside Tom Holland, who plays Spider-Man. So there's already some of that synergy starting now.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty
So
cool.
that's really nice to see all the Marvel guys get along so well, all
Yeah.
of them. So I can only imagine once we
It
actually...
seems like Marvel's just kind of a chill place to work for.
Yeah,
You know?
that seems to be it. Like, oh hey, you got a friend? Does he want to be in Spider-Man? Just bring him on over. Come on, meet Chris Pratt. It's gonna be great. So I guess that's how that goes.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to some other news out of Disney Lucasfilm. So they went ahead and confirmed that there's going to be Indiana Jones 5, and then they say Indiana Jones 5 won't be the last Indiana Jones movie. They're going to make more after
I
that.
kind of want to get up and walk out, and there's not even a movie to get up
And
and walk
Lucas
out
is
of.
involved.
Oh, it's over, guys.
Yeah, like...
It's over before it ever started. Did you ever see those behind the scenes of the making of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? And Steven Spielberg is like, yeah, you know, I didn't really want to do this, but, you know, George Lucas said, oh, we gotta do this. And so I was
Yeah.
like, oh, fine, let's let him do what he wants. And, like,
Okay.
Steven Spielberg just kind of rolled over for
Just
him.
let it happen. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
And I'm going, you crazy old men. What? You went and got old and you got senile, is
Yeah.
what happened. Clearly.
Clearly. Okay, moving on to some anime news. We're really live-action anime news. So we've talked to you guys before about the live-action Kenshin movies and how they progressed throughout cinema over in Japan. We just got news just this week that Funimation has not only licensed the movies to be shown in theaters here domestically, but they will distribute the movies as well.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, it's so strange how there are things that I feel like I've talked about in reviews and stuff lately, where I'm like, oh, it kind of sucks that you can't get this right now, or you used to be able to get it, now you can't anymore. Take, for example, one was Escaflowne, and then Funimation. This was actually Funimation in both of these cases.
Yes, it is.
And then Funimation was like, oh, well, then how about we crowdsource a redub and re-release the whole thing? And I'm like, cool. And now then I went and said, Rurouni Kenshin, it's too bad we can't legally purchase these live-action films here, but if you ever saw them, they're pretty cool. And now Funimation's like, want the movies? Here you go.
Yeah, people will have the legal American option to be able to purchase those movies later this year.
That's pretty cool.
That's friggin' amazing. I will get those because they're okay. The third one's kind of, but the first two are really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to some interesting game news. So Hironobu Sakaguchi, who most famously has worked on Final Fantasy, like the father of Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and then spun off to create Mistwalker, which did Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey, probably most famously.
Right. Well, Sakaguchi is now talking about developing a new development company.
Which that doesn't make any sense to me because he still has Mistwalker.
Well, apparently this is separate from Mistwalker.
But that doesn't make it. Why not just have a new team within Mistwalker?
Well, for what it's worth, he's hiring a new team right now. Supposedly, this new team will be called Dawnwalker. So, a spin-off of some kind, perhaps. Working on a separate project.
Okay. Like a development team? That makes sense. A new company does not. Because, what was wrong with Mistwalker other than the fact that Mistwalker is only doing a tiny, teeny little bit of stuff with mobile games right now?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Alright, so moving on to some Power Rangers movie news. So we got two major bits of news here. The first one being, we have the new poster that was just released, the teaser poster for the movie for Saban's Power Rangers. And I know I'm just speaking for myself here, but you guys take a look at this thing and you tell me whether or not this is one of the most underwhelming, vague posters you've ever seen.
Well, I would if I could remember where I put it.
It's right there.
Okay, it's right there.
So yeah, here we have the 5 Rangers, not in costume, 4 of them on top of the car and 1 off to the side. The stars in the sky kind of sort of making the lightning bolt, which is facing the wrong direction. I've been saying that from the first time they put out the logo.
I know.
And apparently the tagline for the movie, Together We Are More. And
more what?
That's the thing. If you look really tiny, I know we've got a small version of the picture here. If you look down at the bottom, unless you saw the hashtag for Power Rangers on the bottom, anybody looking at this would not know what they were looking at. It's too vague.
Yeah.
Like, there's no signs of the suits, there's nothing of Rita, there's nothing...
I'm really concerned that this is gonna be this really horrible coming-of-age story that's gonna look a lot like... You mentioned it to me, but I was kind of thinking it before you said it's gonna look a lot like Gem.
Yeah,
and,
I'm terrified of that. I'm absolutely terrified of that. But as if to offset the terror of that, they've also announced the most major casting having to do with the movie to this date. Of all people, Bryan Cranston, who of course most famously did all his work on Breaking Bad, had been a voice of a monster on the original series.
Well, yeah, I get that, but I don't see how
has
that
been
makes him
cast
qualified
as the voice of Zordon.
to be Zordon.
And I'm just like, whoa! Like, of all people, like, Cranston can read the phone book and you would give him an Oscar nod for it.
Like, I think he's a fantastic actor, don't get me wrong. I think he's way overqualified at this point for Power Rangers.
At this point, yes, that's like getting Morgan Freeman to be the voice of Zordon.
Because this isn't like, this isn't the same as The Flash, right? Where you get old Flash, old dude who used to play Flash in a previous Flash series to come back and be Flash's dad, and like, oh,
yeah.
This is really important, this is really, this is a fantastic throwback. No, Bryan Cranston was a monster that blew up in an episode, and no, I'm sorry, I don't think that...
Like, I think it's safe to say that this will have the Godzilla kind of effect, the Gareth Edwards Godzilla, where Bryan Cranston's part will be really good,
yeah.
and we have to pray that they don't kill him off in the first reel.
Because they tried to kill off Zordon a few times over the course of the franchise,
And
if
for
we have
those
to
in
go
the
through
know,
that again in this
if we got to go
movie-
through that again, I don't know how I'm going to take it. So,
Yeah.
take that as you will. Okay, so moving on to some other Tokusatsu news over on Dobutsu Sentai Zyuohger. So they, of course, have a movie coming out the first weekend of August. We've got a picture here of some cameos that are going to be in the movie, since, of course, Dobutsu meaning animal, a lot of the animal-themed mentors from the last couple of seasons of Super Sentai will be appearing in the movie.
More than a couple back.
Well, yeah,
for
you've got
Doggy Kruger.
Doggy
like, pretty
Kruger,
far
Master
back.
Shafu, and Torin from, of course, Deca Ranger, Geki Ranger, and Kyoryu, respectively. I like all of these different mentors. That they mean something to me, having watched these series. So it's very nice to see all of them back there. Shafu, of course, Geki Ranger being my first introduction to Super Sentai. So that that hits me where I live.
All
Okay, so moving on to the last bit of follow-up news. So we talked to you guys last week that Bandai and Toei had come together to announce the copyright for Kamen Rider X-Aid. And up to that point, we had no clue what exactly the motif was going to be. All we had was that name. Well, this week, they have announced further licensing for the series. Specifically for what seems to be his transformation device, a weapon, and the collectible thing that each series has. The transformation device is being referred to as the Gamer Driver. The weapon is being referred to as the Gashakon Breaker, and the collectible pieces are going to be called Rider Gashato. So
we're looking at potentially a video game themed
Kamen Rider.
Kamen Rider and Gacha or Gasha. I think you say Gacha when it specifically refers to Bandai, despite the fact that they're saying Gasha,
yeah.
where Gasha is a more generic term for the same kind of twist. Put a coin in, twist, get an egg.
Like Kamen Rider Birth.
Yeah, similar to Kamen Rider Birth. So this is not a transformation device, much like Kamen Rider Birth. That's his weapon.
Yes.
So slightly different in function. So start your speculations there, I suppose, with being video game related and related to Gasha machines.
And admittedly, some people have drawn certain conclusions already on the internet. We're not saying anything for right now. We're just going to wait it out until we see pictures, and then we'll comment on it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
just be aware we're aware of some of the things that are being said. And we'll keep it at that. So that'll do it for this week's follow-ups. Let's go ahead and get right into our Rogue One coverage.
Alright, we're looking at Rogue One and I've got a picture here specifically because it looks like I didn't want to use just a plain old logo.
Yes, especially when we've got so many new pictures.
Tons and tons of new pictures, and it's totally here somewhere. You just go ahead.
Right, so Rogue One, a Star Wars story, of course, will be released later on this year in December. Tons of new information coming out about the plot of the movie, and we'll go ahead and just get right into it now. They have confirmed, like a lot of people have speculated, that Darth Vader will play a significant role in the movie. What they're saying is he will be in the movie sparingly, but at a key strategic moment, he's going to loom large. So he's very much looking like he's going to be this major enforcer there for for the Empire. And what you have here is a picture of the Death Troopers in the movie. Interesting thing there, this Death Trooper seems to be holding a little paper doll version of a regular stormtrooper.
Paper doll or some sort of sock monkey kind of doll, and very raggedy looking thing. I didn't realize they made stormtrooper dolls like that within the universe of the Star Wars universe.
Yes, and we can go ahead and tell you a little bit more about the Death Troopers now. The Death Troopers are being run by Ben Mendelsohn's character, who is called Director Orson Krennic. He is the primary villain of the film, who we now know is the leader of the Death Troopers. He's hoping to gain favor with the Emperor by squashing the rebellion, while at the same time avoiding the wrath of Darth Vader. So he seems to be in some sort of a rivalry with Vader for the approval of the Emperor.
This guy's gonna die.
$5 says he's gonna die.
This guy's gonna die, yeah.
Because the idea that they say that they're throwing around now is that, much like was hinted at in Episode 4, Vader's presence over in this movie he's not so much an enforcer. He can be, but he's actually more of a deterrent to keep the Empire in line. Whereas in Rebels, yes, he's actively trying to help hunt down what's left of the Jedi. But here it's like, no, he's the big bad wolf. He's the guy you don't want to run into, because I guess at this point they're not so worried about his hokey religion. Like, Vader's got a track record of dealing with stuff, especially on the Empire side.
Though apparently, I guess you were kind of reading around this, Vader's gonna show up at some point within the film, and once he gets there, he will be very imposing, but he's not gonna be, like, mainly, dominantly on screen.
No, that falls to Krennic. And of course, as we were all figuring, James Earl Jones will in fact be voicing Darth Vader yet again.
Just makes sense. I think he's totally okay with it.
Like, it's not a problem. He's come back to voice him for Rebels season 2, so there is no other Vader.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the Vader in Battlefront, but
there's some different Vaders in different video games and such.
But we know who Darth Vader is. Like, that's not even a problem. So let's move over to Mads Mikkelsen's role of Galen Erso, who is Jane Erso's father. Estranged father. He's basically the Oppenheimer of this universe because he's the guy who figured out how to get the beam weapon on the Death Star working. He's the guy who invented it, and he hella regrets it. We have no look at his costume yet, but they're going to reveal that shortly.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to that.
Let's go ahead and talk about Alan Tudyk's motion capture character, K2SO, who is described as the exact opposite of C-3PO.
That's cool.
He's a little bit like Chewbacca. They're describing him as Chewbacca's personality in a droid's body. He doesn't give a crap about what you think. He doesn't fully check himself before he says anything. He just speaks his mind.
That's good. I like the sound of this character.
Yeah, I like him already. If he's anything like his character on Firefly, like him, like
it's kind of interesting. All this information comes out. This was not too long after there were all those rumors that Disney was really disappointed with early things having to do with Rogue One, and they were talking about like reshoots and stuff, but then other people I had heard from other sources were saying that none of those rumors were actually true, so I don't actually know what is true and what is not true about that, because this is a lot of information that I actually am really interested in.
Yeah, and this is coming from the horse's mouth here.
Yeah.
Like, there's no debate on this. This is the gospel according to Lucasfilm. So we'll go ahead and move on to the one I'm most invested in, Donnie Yen's character, Chirrut Imwe, he's a very interesting character they're describing here. He's blind, for starters. He cannot see, and he is not a Jedi, but he very much believes in the teachings of the Jedi, so he kind of sort of uses the Force to see. He's basically like Daredevil for the Rebellion, and I'm like, hell yes, I am here for that. If you guys have seen any of Donnie Yen's filmography, Ip Man, Dragon Tiger Gate, like, the man is a force. And to see him use the Force will be an amazing thing to see in some weird kind of roundabout way because he's not a Jedi.
Yeah.
And at this point in the story, that makes sense. There's not really any Jedi left to teach him properly.
So he's just free-wielding what he's figured out.
Yeah, basically. And that's actually something I think is very interesting because of the way the movies have depicted the Force. It's either you're heavy in the Force, like a Sith or a Jedi, or you don't know anything about it. And they've never talked about the in-between sort of thing. Like, what if you're Force sensitive, but you've never been taught?
That sort of thing comes up. It used to come up constantly within an expanded universe. Or take, for example, the people who are super really steeped in the Force. Like you've got Darth Revan, for example, who had been a Sith for a long time, and then he gets defeated and loses his memory, and then he becomes Super Jedi, and then he remembers old stuff from the past, and then he's like, I don't know what I am anymore, and then he kind of like floats in between these two things, and he just kind of does whatever. So within film, that middle ground has not been explored at all. So I am very interested in what this character will do.
Oh, I'm absolutely loving what they're talking about here. Then we'll talk about Diego Luna's character, Captain Cassian Andor, who is the by-the-book intelligence officer of the Rebellion. He's practical, seen more than his fair share of combat. And he's just trying to figure out how to do his job as best as he can. So he's the straightforward character out of it all. And of course, we can't not talk about Jyn Erso, who's pretty much the main character here. She's got a checkered past. She's been detained by the rebellion and is being given an opportunity to be useful. And by being useful, it may commute her sentence. So odds are maybe she was trying to steal from the rebellion, and they're like, well, you've got skills. We can use those skills. So basically kind of
we kind of already knew that just by the trailers previously.
But yeah, but it's more confirmed here. It's some kind of Suicide Squad-ish deal. Like, you work for us, you get time off or pardon or something. And then the biggest surprise that seems to be coming out of this is the confirmation of who Forrest Whitaker is playing. And of course, guesses were being made left and right ever since we got the first teaser for this thing. But they have confirmed he's playing the character Saw Gerrera, who was first seen in Star Wars The Clone Wars. So this being the first character from the animated portions of the Star Wars universe being brought into the live action many years later, very much a weathered version of that character. They describe him as being a battered veteran who leads a band of rebel extremists. He's on the fringe of the Alliance. They need him, but they're concerned about what he'll do.
Yeah. This makes me really interested to know what else is happening with all these other animated characters at this point in Star Wars history, because it definitely means they're not just expanded universe canon, they're canon.
They're canon.
Yeah, so I'm real curious to know whether or not they drop hints at other names of different characters that have been in Clone Wars and Rebels. So that would
well, yeah,
be
because
cool
by
to
this
know.
point, there enough time will have passed to where his character would have aged to that point from his appearance in the Clone Wars, and that of course brings me to my next question of what about the characters in Rebels? Are we going to reference them at all, especially since their time period is much closer to Episode 4, and this is like right on the cusp of the opening reel of Episode 4. So are we going to hear the names Ezra Bridger or Kanan Jarrus thrown around in the background, like, oh, they're out there helping us put this together, or we couldn't have gotten this far had it not been for them.
Yeah.
That's stuff I'm looking for, because confirming this, like, it's not just a cartoon, like, it's real. Like, that affirms to the haters, hey, even if you don't like Clone Wars, it's canon, go watch. Like, we had some people trying to reconvince us to keep watching Clone Wars last night.
Alright, I mean, it doesn't mean I like it, but alright.
Yes, and we've got more pictures here. That Death Trooper just being one of them. These guys storming a beach, very much on the hunt for these rebels. Ben Mendelsohn's character looking very imposing there in his Imperial garb. Picture of that droid that Alan Tudyk is playing. A very basic looking droid, not much to him. All this put together, I think this is a smart move, really, in regards to all these stories tonight, that the studios want to be on top of the news coming out about stuff. We don't want you guys to have to figure it out. We will give you everything you need to know, and enough to where you're satiated enough and don't feel like you need to go spy for it.
Yeah.
Which is the smartest thing they could friggin' do. So I very much trust Disney and Lucasfilm working on this, giving us this. I can't wait for December. Yes.
Guess we'll leave that one off there. What's our second story?
Friggin' Inafune, man. Like, what happened? Where'd you go wrong?
Okay, so somewhere else. There it is. There's this. So
then there's this thing.
So Mighty Number 9. What can I possibly say? Other than, man, so many sad, angry, otherwise disappointed people. We told you guys back when it was a super mega success story, right? We were excited about it then.
$3.8 million raised.
We backed it. I backed it at the $5 level.
I backed it at the 20.
At the 20, so you have a copy of the game coming somewhere. And everybody was so excited. Oh, they've got Inafune, so this is going to be a spiritual successor to Mega Man. We've got fantastic artists. We have people who were composers for previous Mega Man games doing the music. So promising. And then came delay after delay after delay, and then came demos that people were really disappointed with. And just shots of the production just looking not so smooth until finally, just a couple of days ago, Mighty Number 9 finally hit its launch day, and its launch was one of the messiest things, and still, for many people, is not quite resolved. Man, they were doing what, a live stream?
Yes.
For their launch day, and they make these quotes that have been going around like, well, there were a lot of problems with Mighty Number 9, but you know, it's the way it came out. It's better than nothing. Like, I can't even believe that is a thing that the developers would say to their audience. You know, try to lie to me.
Yeah, at that point, I paid you to lie to me.
Yeah.
At that point, my specific problem is that a lot of people seem to have gotten codes to get the name or get the game out, but a lot of people are being given the incorrect codes. Like, some people who got it for PSN are getting Steam codes, and vice versa. In my case, I got the code for the demo.
Well, everybody got the code for the demo.
Yeah, but when I try to pull up the actual game, like, it says, oh yeah, you're owed this code. Here's the demo code. No, give me the code that I'm supposed to have. Here's the demo code. What the hell? I paid. You saw that I paid.
It's kind of weird for me. Like, I do have the code for the demo, but it's weird that I go to Kickstarter and it does not indicate that I backed Mighty Number 9 at all. So
yeah.
I don't know if that's a problem with the Mighty Number 9 Kickstarter, or if that's a problem within Kickstarter that in the list of things that I have backed, Mighty Number 9 does not show up as one of those things. So we fall under this bracket of people who are kind of in this area of confusion about the delivery of the things promised. And there are, some people who, they got their PSN code, but it doesn't work. Never mind the fact that they can buy the game and play it right now. Cannot access the download page, or it is empty.
That's what happened to you.
No, that's not
well,
what
actually,
happened
no, that's
to me.
not what happened to you. But that's happened to a lot of people. And then on top of that, if you could imagine a better way to add insult to injury, friggin' the Sonic the Hedgehog official Twitter account started ragging on them to their faces, like, hey, at least it's better than nothing at all, you know, throwing their words back in their face.
Which is so weird, because Sonic doesn't exactly have anything to be proud of over the last couple of years, you know? And yet, there they are being the smug asses, as always. But then again, I guess that's Sonic's attitude in general as that character. That's
like,
just kind of
if he
who
can't
is.
get his games off the ground, then he's going to drag the game next to him down with him. So I guess that's how that works. But it's just... I want to say it's interesting to see, but at the same time, we saw the warning signs from miles out that, you know, there were problems, there were setbacks, things weren't being delivered on time, and now when it actually gets here and a lot of our worst fears are being confirmed that this is not the amazing thing that we were all being promised.
And this is being brought up in the chat right now. This is not a lie. The credits are literally 4 hours long.
This is true.
And that's to, you know, name every single individual who backed it on Kickstarter, which is a testament to how many people truly believed in this and wanted this so bad. Now we haven't played the game. And a lot of people are really disappointed with it, saying that, like, yeah, it functions, but it's not what we were hoping and dreaming for. But then again, we also have other friends who get it, and they're like, I don't see why people are so angry. Like, I thought it was a perfectly decent game. So, you know, we can't make a judgment
based off that
on
until
gameplay right now.
As soon as I can actually get a hold of the game that I am owed, then I will get at it and see how I feel about it. But I understand the complaints that are coming from the people that are upset with it, that it feels kind of soulless, the animation looks kind of flat, it seems more like a knockoff than a spiritual successor. And those are really some of the worst things you could say about this.
It does seem like it's a functioning game. I haven't seen really hardly anybody saying, oh, this game flat out doesn't work. It's more like the delivery of the game doesn't work. There's a whole bunch of people who are like, I'm owed my physical copy. I don't know where my physical copy is. I don't know where my copy is at all. Oh, you're having to send me a copy of the game to Steam because your codes for Xbox One don't work. So, oh, I guess the Xbox One dudes get to have 2 copies of the game, ultimately, in the end, once they start delivering out the Xbox One versions appropriately. But let's, you know, ignore that.
Like, this
okay.
is... When you look at it from a larger perspective, this could be very much the low point for Inafune, which is kind of funny to look at considering everything else.
After Capcom kind of dicked him around, so we were rooting for him.
We wanted to believe.
Yeah.
We really did. And now, like, we might get to the point very soon, if it hasn't happened already, where people start using this as a verb for describing a bad Kickstarter. Hey, you don't want to get Mighty Number 9.
But at the same time, I think we also forget how many legitimately good Kickstarters
Which is true.
have come out of. How many good things have been crowdfunded?
But I don't say that to take away from any of those games. There are plenty of other games. Bloodstained is one of them.
In fact, Bloodstained just released their demo. I believe I'm at least on the list to be able to play the demo, and I have not done that yet. But I've heard really good things about Bloodstained,
No,
so
I
I'm
totally get that, and that
it.
doesn't detract from good games, decent games that were coming out. I'm just saying, we all believed in you, and if you let everybody down, your curse from this point on is to be the poster child for bad Kickstarter games.
Mm-hmm.
That is your curse for the rest of humanity, for the rest of humanity's existence. You are that guy that we're going to refer back to.
It's so sad. Do we ever give Inafune another chance ever again? Is the question.
Well, because the question that will come back from this now is we got to see the autopsy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where did the fault lie? Was it Inafune? Was it somewhere in production? Did they cut corners somewhere?
I wonder, though, because, like, immediately after Mighty Number 9's Kickstarter ended, then they were like, we already did this once, let's hurry up and try and do it again with, they proposed Redash, which was supposed to be kind of a spiritual successor to Mega Man Legends, and people were like, that would be great, but we want you to finish the first thing you promised us first. Like, they got too greedy, and then you have to start to wonder, oh man, is this an indication of where it's going?
Exactly, yeah.
So, then, in fact, is it Inafune and the rest of the studio that were they greedy in some other aspect that caused Mighty Number 9 to take so long and to ultimately not be the promised product that everybody expected?
Because because my expertise is only so much, I can deal with the understanding of a broken game, but if it's soulless, that is on you guys, because it is your job as game developers to put the soul into this thing that we were all expecting, because everybody was expecting this thing to have had the transplanted soul of Mega Man embodied in it, and we would all live through that soul, for lack of a better way of putting it. But when you fail to deliver on that, that's the part people are going to remember. It's not going to be that you took their money, it's the fact that you didn't deliver on a bigger concept.
Yeah.
That people will not forgive as easy.
It's very sad, because you spoke directly to people's hearts and to their childhoods, to their desires.
To my emotions.
And then it's like being the dad that promises their kid that they're gonna go out to the zoo or the park or something on the weekend, and then the dad's like, sorry kid, gotta take this phone call, and then he's off in a business meeting for the whole weekend, and the kid's just like, well, I'm not gonna ask Dad to do anything with me anymore.
And that's a really sad way of looking at it.
Man, I just broke my own heart.
Wow.
I don't want to talk about this
anymore. Let's go ahead and move on.
Yeah.
Because we've only got a little bit of time left, and I got a lot to say about this next one.
Okay.
We talked to you guys now about the updates to Justice League, and what you're seeing here behind us is the official logo for the movie from Warner Brothers and DC. Let's go ahead and try and get at this as quickly as possible. So last weekend, several different online critics were invited out to the set of Justice League over in England to see it being filmed, to talk to the producers, talk to Zack Snyder, talk to Ben Affleck, talk to the other actors on the movie, see some things filmed, look at some concept art, and show them, hey, look, we listened to you guys, we're working on it, we're changing things, we want you guys to believe in this next movie. Now, starting with just that gesture, that says a lot right there, that they're trying to, on some level, man up and address the problems that existed in Not Quite Justice League, which, of course, is what we call Batman v Superman. So a lot of the things they were shown have been shown verbatim on many different sites by this point. All the people that went, a lot of the stuff I'm looking at is from Birth Movies Death, the people that helped run the Alamo Drafthouse chain of theaters. And a lot of the things they saw, is specifically from this article, were only so impressive before lunch. You know, some of the concept art, some of the costumes, the Batmobile's been fixed. Okay, big whoop. That doesn't really matter. The bigger thing being these two filmed pieces, one that they were shown in video, and another that they actually got to witness being filmed. And the first one that everybody seems to be quoting from is an exchange between the first meeting of Barry Allen and Bruce Wayne. Basically the gist of it is that Bruce is already at Barry's apartment. Barry comes home. He lives in some kind of loft area, and Bruce is confronting him on, "Hey, you have powers, but I don't know exactly what they are." And Barry's trying to play it off like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about." And his Flash costume is blatantly on display there in his room. And he's like, "You know, this stuff on your costume. This is the stuff that they put on the space shuttle to take away heat from re-entry." He's like, "Oh, that could." It fell off a truck or something like that. And then Bruce, at that moment, decides to chuck a batarang at him. And very much in kind of Quicksilver fashion, Barry kind of dodges it, looks at him, looks back, catches it, and realizes, "You're the Batman? Can I keep this?" And he tells him, "Look, I need to form a team. There's something coming." And he immediately says, "Yes!" And he's like, "Why did you say yes so quickly?" And Barry tells him, "I don't get out much. I don't have many friends."
So it's...
And that's the end of the exchange
kind
there.
of comedic sounding dialogue.
Yeah, it sounds
entertaining.
Entertaining dialogue.
Yeah.
What a concept. And the other thing, of course, being a later piece filmed on the top of the roof of the Gotham City Police Department between Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Flash, and Commissioner Gordon, which seemed to be very much in character for everybody. A couple of jokes being cracked, the biggest one being that as much formed as it is, Justice League jumps off the roof. Gordon turns his back because, I've dealt with Batman for the last couple of years. I know how this works. I'm going to turn around. He's not there. He turns back around. The Flash is still standing there, and he's surprised that somebody's still standing there. He says, "You're still here." And the Flash says, "Yeah, the rest of them took off already." Rude, right? And that's funny.
Yeah.
And it's also in character.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to see. Like, how exactly did we get here? Like, why was all this missing from before?
But then there's some other issue now that's come up, not just from this visiting of this set and everything, but we learned recently that Justice League, which was supposed to be a two-parter, two different movies, is now only going to be one film.
Correct, yes.
So, I mean, that's a completely different concern for me, because we already had a problem where we tried to rush everything in all at once in Batman v Superman to hurry up and try and catch up with Marvel, and now they're doing it again.
Right, like it really seems like they're trying to pull a fast one here.
Yeah.
And of course, the emphasis of the movie does seem to be on Batman, as one would assume, with, of course, Ben Affleck taking an executive producer position, also getting to direct, write, and star in his own movie, which by his own admission, he says, we're not going to do that until it's right. So good on him for that, but I'm talking about the movie y'all are filming right now. Because all of the focus is on, we're changing the tone, we're trying to make things more like what you wanted to. We're trying to make up for how Batman was acting in the last movie. He feels changed by Superman's selfless act, and he's got his hope in humanity back. Okay, that's great. How are you going to fix Superman? That's the question nobody's been asking at this point, because they inundated them with so much information about the other members of the League and the plot, which now we see revolves around 3 mother boxes on Earth, and Steppenwolf, who they have confirmed is the bad guy, is coming back to get them? And if you know anything about how these movies work, whether you've read the comics or even seen the animated stuff, that's not how mother boxes are supposed to work.
Yeah.
So, take that as you will. But really, the bigger question here is, alright, you are admitting that people said, hey, Batman was too dark, do something about it. We know he's dark, but he's not supposed to be that dark.
Right.
And they're like, we heard you. Ben, can we work on this? Sure. Okay, fine. I'll give you that. I will be the first person to give you that. But you still have to deal with what you did with Superman.
Exactly.
And the fact that he's dead, and you can't at all bring him back in the convoluted manner that he was brought back in the comics from with that fight from Doomsday, that means whatever they do there has to be hella cheap.
Yeah, any option they choose sounds like it will also be convoluted. Any option, because we were having this discussion last night.
Yeah.
You either take the option from Death of Superman, which requires people we've never seen, or it would at the very least require rewriting it so that other people that we have seen are going to be part of it, but they have no personal stake in Superman's life, so who the cares?
Right.
Or you go with an animated version of Superman's death that has been done before, and he's essentially just sleeping.
In both versions, that's kind of what it is, but he needed help getting his powers back, and since you don't have Cyborg Superman, Steel, the Eradicator, Superboy, any of those characters around to help work him back to full power, how the hell are you going to explain that away?
I mean, those characters are going to be there now, but they didn't meet
none
Superman.
of those four characters. No,
what I'm saying is, again, it would have to be a thing where you rewrite it so that it's the characters that we are seeing who do it. But why do those characters care? Why do those characters want Superman back so bad?
Because we already had the problem where Wonder Woman didn't really have anything to do with Superman at all until they met at the very end of the movie. Batman was mad, scared at him the whole movie just about. Mm-hmm. And then Cyborg, Aquaman, and Flash have no stake in it whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So what do they care?
Yeah.
Why does it matter? And even then, you know they have to bring him back because this is a Justice League movie, but it's the thing, where are they going to put the weight on him? Because they tried to put a weight on his, basically just his being there at all in the last movie, but you didn't pay for it, you know what I mean? And that's why I think the ending fell flat.
Yeah, I get that.
So here, if you're going to fix that, yeah, I admit, fine, you're trying to fix Batman, you're trying to lighten the mood with Flash and Cyborg, good job, those are good decisions, good for you, you get a sticker, Snyder, but I'm talking about Superman, the icon, the bigger-than-life guy. How are you going to get him?
I really feel like Snyder has already screwed the pooch on Superman twice, so I don't trust him.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, we're just going to have to wait and see. So, you had another graphic here, because, like, we already had not quite Justice League, and now...
yeah, because we used the term not quite Justice League to refer to the last movie.
But now it's like, especially because Justice League was once two movies, and now it's all shoved into one big movie, like, we gotta do something else.
Like, we've got to throw in everything. We've got to throw in the Atlanteans all now. We've got to throw in double the Amazons all now, besides the Wonder Woman movie. We've got to throw in all of Flash at you all now. We've got to throw in Cyborg at you all now. We've got to throw in Batman and then tie things to his movies all now.
So I'm proposing to you guys that this movie is now not just Justice League, it is now full-blown Justice League.
That is, so from now on, when we refer to this movie, it is not just Justice League to us. This is hashtag full-blown Justice League.
Full-blown Justice League.
They've gone full-blown Justice League.
They've gone full-blown Justice League.
Oh, man. Like, I can't wait until we start using that regularly.
Now we've got full-blown Justice League. This just is not...
I'm sorry,
that sounds
man.
awful. We gotta go get that checked out.
Oh, man. Did you hear about Zach? He came down with full-blown Justice League.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, man. They're gonna have to take
Pray for him.
Oh, man. Yeah. Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers.
For full-blown Justice League. Wow. Yeah, I hope there's a cream for that. So, yeah, that's where we stand on that. Hopefully we'll get some Superman news come, I don't know, Comic-Con or something. But, yeah, this is where we're going for it. We have willingly decided this is the direction we're going to go at it from because they decided to change direction.
Yeah, that's what this is now. So
yeah.
I think we're done.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Let me get rid of this.
Yeah, get rid of it.
I'm done with Justice League.
I'm done with this kid.
Alright, then I guess we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the main portion of the program. So thank you to you guys who have been here with us live all night. If you are still with us live, stick around with us for the next half an hour because we're going to do another Q&A session as always. But if you're not here with us live, sorry you don't get to see the Q&A, but you could.
You could.
If you came down to visit with us on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Central here at youtube.com/MarsGirl/live. But there's only 2 more episodes left of this season.
And then we're going to go on a break.
And then we've got our month-long break that we always do in between seasons. So come and see us while you can. Otherwise, you just might have to talk to us on social media or something.
Yeah.
And, that's not the same thing. But you could.
But you could.
You could. Because we got social media?
Because we got social media. You guys can talk to us on social media during the week. Because I'm at Josh Knight first.
And I'm at Mars Girl.
So that having been said, that's been tonight's episode of Beyond the Black Rims. We'll see you guys again next week.
Night, everybody. Thank you.
Oh God, my
Thank
hand
you.
is green.